fighting out of the blue corner. Please welcome David Gledhill.
Okay, we're here at Combat Challenge, Bradford Cedar Court. This is Alexander King with my friend and colleague Rich Kenny at the best seats in the house, cage side. For what's already turned out to be a fantastic night of fights. Gentleman coming out now is
David Gledhill fighting out of Farrell's MMA. We're just trying to see what it said on the banner there as well. You don't often see fighters coming out with a full set of sponsors and stuff, but he's fighting out of a well-established team in Farrell's MMA. When you're a 70-kilo fighter with and you've got a training partner like Andy Farrell, you know you're going to have some serious wrestling behind you and a very, very good set of skills.
Is it fair to say we can expect to see David try and take this fight down to the ground, or?
I'm not too sure, Al, to be honest. I mean, the guys at Farrell's, they've got it all. They've got everything, but you know, when you've got a coach and a training partner like Andy Farrell, who is so good on the floor, such a strong wrestler, that you know, it'd be remiss of me to think that he's got anything lacking in the wrestling department. But that's not to say this guy doesn't know how to bang.
And his opponent fighting out of the red corner. Please welcome Dickinson.
All right, this is his opponent, Dale Dickinson.
So this is Dale's fourth fight. He's told me it's previously 1 win, 2 losses. His fight's our Combat MMA is at 70 kilos, and this is our second to last amateur meet fight of the night. So once again, there won't be any ground and pound allowed on the floor today. Dale's going to have a really tough fight in front of him in David here, because both teams coming out of good camps, and you know, just the Farrell's guys are renowned for being very, very tough, but very interested to see what Dale's going to bring to this as well. I mean, it's a slightly more experienced fighter by the sound of it, and you know, it's anybody's fight really at this point. But I think he just might be struggling in a guy the fighter of David, really, Farrell's.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our third bout of the evening is brought to you in association with Nationwide Event Support. And it's to be fought over 3 3-minute rounds at the amateur mixed martial arts rules in the B-class category. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, representing Farrell MMA from Huddersfield, David Gledhill. And his opponent standing across the cage, fighting out of the red corner, represents Combat MMA from Bradford, Dale Dickinson.
David in the black shorts and Dale in the black shorts, Venom ones.
They touch him up.
David just slowly working around a little bit, Dale a bit standard. So we thought for the Farrell's guy, solid wrestling, straight in for the takedown. Dale only staying his feet there by virtue of holding the cage there. Playing that strong clinch game from David.
Some strikes going in there as they clinch up.
I think we could expect a level change pretty soon to bring this one to the floor. There we are, he's going for the single now. And like I said, this is the second time he's held the cage. He's going to
need to be careful, Rich. He will lose a point.
He will, and that was the takedown I was expecting there. David actually went for the level change earlier on to pick him up, and Dale hung onto the cage there to avoid the takedown. So did the right thing there. David just pulled him out into the centre of the cage and dumped him. So Dale playing quite a tight, closed guard, looking to control his head as well at the moment. Plenty of shots coming from David Gledhill here. And
as we said before, Rich, those shots to the body, they might not end the fight, but they score points and they do take the wind out of the opponent.
Yeah, that's right. They do wear you down. It's just a constant impact lets you just never really get comfortable with your hip movement on the floor. They constantly changes the angle with which you have to kind of accommodate the sort of movement. So like I said, they're not going to be fight enders, but they're going to be enough to cause you some problems later on as these rounds develop.
David's really working the body there. He's putting some real energy into those punches.
Yeah, he's got to be careful he doesn't kind of punch himself out a little bit with this, because he, although he is scoring with them, he'd be better off trying to force that guard apart and looking for a way to pass guard and advance his position and either look to set up a sub or strike from a different angle. So he's opened the guard now. He's looking to go step through guard pass and pass to half guard. Dale making a job of kicking him away once he gets back to his feet. Straight in for the power double there. Went a bit high. Would nice to have seen him go a little bit low on that, because I think he'd have finished. And obviously keen to get this to the floor, David.
Which is kind of what we were expecting from having such a pedigree, and so far that pedigree has proven dividends here.
Yeah, he got this is his fourth attempt at the takedown. Scored well on the third one, and I think he probably would have got the first two if he hadn't been holding the cage there from Dale. But Dale just trying to keep this on his feet as much as possible and trying to avoid this takedown. But I think as soon as David drops for a level change, he should probably get this to the floor again fairly sharpish. So he's dropping under now. It looks like he's trying to just get under the hips there.
Dale's working his arm under that chin. Will he have an arming guillotine here?
I think there's not going to be the leverage for it. He's quite deep in there, but I don't think he's going to be able to lock his arms with any sort of extension, and he's given that up now. Lots of body shots from David there, and Dale once again holding the cage to avoid the takedown. Dale looking like he hasn't really got much of an answer for this sort of clinch game of David.
He does seem to be spending more time trying to stop getting taken down than actually he's mounting his own offence, Rich.
Yeah, that's right. David's kind of walked away with that round, really. Dale although not offering anything, just doesn't seem capable of dealing with the sort of the pressure wrestling game that David's showing. You know, David constantly working for takedowns or playing a heavy clinch game against the cage, and Dale just content to avoid the takedown, but not really advance his position. And he's going to have to show a lot more in the second round, I think, Al.
It'll be interesting to see what changes Dale makes in the second round and what his coaches are telling him right now. And would you expect them to be saying to keep that range, work the jab, try and use more foot movement to keep away from the cage?
That's exactly right. I'd tell him to really get himself behind that jab, to give himself some movement and maybe attack the legs a little bit. If he could, I think he'd be remiss to throw any kicks higher than the waist against a guy who is looking for the takedown actively. But he should certainly be punishing him a little bit on the outside. I'll say, yeah, you're exactly right. Just try and create some space. Put a barrier up in the way of either a stiff jab or get him behind his right hand a little bit and make him think twice about changing his level, you know.
It's certainly against wrestlers, footwork is one of your most potent weapons, isn't that correct?
That's right. You've got to keep them moving away from the position where they can set their shot. You've got to constantly work them on either on the outside or keep them just shifting their balance points.
But certainly offensively, we're going to have to see Dale Dickinson try and get off a few more of his own solid shots.
Yeah, he's going to have to show us a lot more here if he's going to win these rounds.
They touch him up. Very upright stance from Dickinson, even despite the wrestling offensive of Gledhill.
That's right. It's he's looking quite tentative, and I think you've got to bring this fight to him. You know, didn't really commit to his kick there. And
beautiful takedown straight into the guard.
Straight through that. And this is what we said. If he's going to kick above the waist, he either needs to really commit to it and force him to worry about those kicks, or just not throw him, because that sort of middle ground is going to cause him to get taken down by someone like David. So David keeping his hips high and just keeping the pressure. Not seeing a lot of offense off his back from Dale. Be good to see what he could throw up from there. But David keeping his arms on him, trying to avoid any sort of submission attempts in the form of arm bars and triangles and stuff. But Dale not doing a right lot to break his posture. He should really be controlling his head or looking to maybe hit an overhook on this arm so he can control one or two of them.
And you've got to believe that David Gledhill, spending so much time on top with his wrestling base, will know a lot of submission defence.
Yeah, he's not giving any opportunities. He's not leaving a lot of space open, to be honest. But that just means that Dale perhaps needs to work a little bit harder. I mean, there's a small attempt at a triangle there from Dale, but really needed to get his hips behind that and get that foot over his shoulder, because he managed to actually trap the arm there, but didn't really get anywhere with it. I'd expect to see some kind of attempt to advance his position here from Dale, like either hitting a sweep coming underneath that knee and maybe looking to hit like either a flower sweep, pendulum sweep or something like that, or disengaging to an open guard, but seems quite content to play in a closed guard and just take quite a lot of body shots out.
Would you like it to open that guard up and maybe take a few more chances when this GMP's raining down?
Yeah, I would, because he's throwing the leg up there but not committed to it. He's just got stack cast there by David. I think it's just a bit half-hearted, that really, as David's looked to pass, and he set up a head and arm triangle, which
that was very quick indeed. Excellent win there for David Gledhill. Looked like a head and arm choke, Rich.
Yeah, he was. I was expecting him to get right the way across to the other side control and finish, but he finished it from mount, so congratulations,
David.
Very,
very strong squeeze to finish it from mount.
Yeah, you've got to really get behind that.
That's fantastic. A very, very impressive performance there for David Gledhill. He'll be really happy with that.
Yeah, I think he will. He'll be pleased with that win.
And for Dale Dickinson, back to the gym. You learn more from a loss than you will from a win, as they always say. And I'm sure he'll be going back with his coaches, watching this tape, and he'll be making adjustments, Rich.
Yeah, just confused as to why he's quite so tentative there. I think there's more for Dale to show us really in his skill set. I'd like to see him offer a little bit more.
1 minute, 51 seconds of the second round. Your winner, firearm triangle, blue, let's hear it for his opponent. Let's hear it today.